Let's talk now to our international affairs commentator, Doug Herbert, who joins us. Doug, the tensions in Burkina Faso, they've been building, haven't they, for a while, amid the growing threat from jihadists there. Is the government still in control, as it claims?
We don't know at this hour. That's the easy answer here. Look, there has been persistent and even growing instability across Burkina Faso, east, west, northern regions, Stuart, really over the past 7 years or so. And what we've seen is jihadists, that is, Islamist militants, sympathetic or members of the Islamic State group branch or Al Qaeda, have been waging what amounts to a war of attrition against the government and generally holding, entire villages in a lot of regions. These are regions where, a government authority is either weak or security forces have just fled. So a lot of the country really remains beyond the control of the government. And we've had a situation in which the government itself, led by President Kabore, has been really, if not under siege, at least a real sense of fear of this Islamist militant threat. The president, just a few months ago, changed his entire military leadership in order to sort of quell a lot of the opposition and the unrest that we've been seeing. We've been seeing, ambushes and in some cases in recent months, dozens killed in incidents, especially in the north of the country, including one back in November, in which dozens of forces, both civils but also security forces, were killed. And we also saw just very recently, in the past couple of weeks, we've seen over a dozen people arrested by the government on suspicion that they were plotting to overthrow it, that is, plotting a coup. So we see a lot of fear, some would call it paranoia, among the government as they see this jihadist threat closing in all around them, almost on all sides. And we see a population that is more and more restive and angry at what they see as a government that not only has failed to come to grips with this jihadist threat, but which has really left them in the lurch, with a lot of supplies in a lot of areas of the country just running empty, whether we're talking about food or medicine or even just water. So it's a dire situation for many, which is why we see a lot of ordinary people actually, and we've seen this in other places across the region, simply just calling for an army takeover because they believe it perhaps would be the lesser of two evils.
Doug, why are the developments in Burkina Faso, they're setting off alarm bells well beyond the West Africa and indeed the whole of the Sahel region?
Yeah, and it's important to say the whole of the Sahel region. Remember, this comes in a context where we have seen coups in recent years, in Chad, in recent months, in Chad, in Guinea, in Mali, in Sudan, across the region, and moreover, just democratic backsliding. And what we're seeing is this entire region, which is an arid strip of land, really just to the south of the Sahara Desert, really with just total insecurity. And we've seen it become a launching pad, if you will, not just for jihadists to gain a foothold and a new base after setbacks for ISIS and other groups in the Middle East, but migrants now. From a European perspective, it's become a base for migrants that make their way gradually northward towards Europe, fertile ground there, but also as a transit route, a transit hub, this entire region, or a starting point for illegal drugs, for weapons, that type of contraband, and as I said, for jihadists themselves. Obviously, now most of those attacks are limited to the region for now, but the fear, at least among people outside the region in Europe, the West, even larger, broader geographically looking on, is that jihadist threat could spread beyond locally staged attacks if some of these groups grow more ambitious. So what's happening in Burkina Faso is hardly limited to Burkina Faso. It is perhaps a microcosm of a broader and growing threat, which ultimately, Stuart, in order to be addressed, will require looking at the broader, impoverishment, poverty, development issues, all the things we so often talk about. It's not just a matter of security.
Doug, thanks very much. Doug Herbert, international affairs commentator on France 24.